Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Nats Chat is brought to you by Walters. Walters is the spot to be this Friday night to catch the boxing match between Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia.
Price will be $30 at the door for the fight night on Friday, starting at 9 p.m.
The 2-2 on the way. Swinging a high drive, deep right field. Back it goes. Thomas to the wall, and it is gone. It clears the bullpen in right. A 2-run homer for Adam Frazier, his second of the year, and it's 3-0 Baltimore.
So here's the pitch. Thomas swings and drives going to the air to left center field. It's deep, but play ball left fielder Hayes, center fielder Mullins. Mullins calls him off, steps in front and makes the catch. And this one over here at Nationals Park.
You know, we're very inconsistent. I'm just hitting the ball hard. You know, right now, I'm just looking for quality at bats, hitting the ball hard, hitting strikes, getting the ball in the strike zone.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Thursday, April 20th, 2023, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Well, if you are a Nats fan who despises the Orioles, this round one of the 2023 Battle of the Beltways was not for you. 2 games at Nationals Park, 2 shutout losses for the Nats. Tuesday night, a 1-0 loss. Wednesday night, a 4-0 loss. The Nats now are 5-13 with 4 shutout losses. But MacKenzie Gore on Wednesday night did give us even more reason to believe that he can be the ace who the Nats so desperately need. And we, at the end of this installment of the podcast, have something special for you. Tim Shover's conversation with the play-by-play voice of the Fred Nats, Eric Bach, on the latest on the many quality prospects for the Nats at Loe Frederick and Robert Hassell III and Elijah Green and Brady House and Jarlin Susana. So we have those things to look forward to. But yeah, another shutout loss on Wednesday night. You know, Mark, the Orioles came into this series with a starting pitching ERA for this regular season of 6.75, and yet the Nats got shut out in both games. We know that the Nats hitting isn't very good. Davey Martinez, during his post-game press conference on Wednesday night, seemed especially frustrated, and things are not well with this Nationals lineup right now.
No, so are you saying that Kyle Bradish and Dean Kramer aren't going to be 1-2 in the Cy Young race this year?
Probably not.
Oh, okay. Would you like to do a full breakdown of all 9 at-bats with runners in scoring position, none of which resulted in a hit?
No, I think, though, we can have Shovers do that maybe later and add that onto this installment of the podcast. How about that?
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, this was played 18 games this year, and there have been several of these kind of games, unfortunately, but this might have been the worst of them, to be honest, because they took 9 at-bats with runners in scoring position, yes, but it never felt like they were really on the verge of anything. It never felt like they had a rally brewing. It was really, really weak contact in most cases. It just never felt like they had anything going in this one. And that's so frustrating because when you are getting halfway decent pitching performances like they have, and you're facing a team that, as you said, not exactly known for having dominant pitching, you can't string something together. And it makes you worry, if this is how they did against the Orioles, how are they going to do against the Twins and the Mets on this road trip coming up? There's a lot of discouraging reasons about the lineup, and we knew going into the year this was going to be a problem. I'm surprised it's been this bad. I don't know that I thought it was going to be quite this bad or feel this helpless from a lineup standpoint.
So the Nats on Wednesday night, no runs, a mere 6 hits, a double and 5 singles, 3 walks. The Nats went 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position, as Mark said. By the way, 3 of the Nats' 6 hits came from one guy, Keibert Ruiz. He had a pretty good game. He is a Nats starting catcher, number 6 batter, 3 for 4 with 3 singles. But I mean, consider this. So I mentioned that the Nats had a double on Wednesday night, and I put the word double in quotation marks. I mean, this wasn't even a true double. Joey Meneses in the bottom of the 6th had a 1-out double on a 1-2 pitch on a ball that got by the Orioles third baseman, Ramon Urias, thanks to a tricky hop.
The 1-2. Swinging a chopper up the third base line. It's fair and off the glove and past Urias. The ball into foul ground. chased after by the left fielder Hayes. And on his way to second is Joey Meneses.
I mean, that was the Nats' lone extra base hit in this game. Like, if you didn't watch the game, you just see the box score, you say, hey, Meneses had a double. Good for him. He didn't line one off the wall, okay? This was a ball that, was tricky. I mean, you could argue the play could have been ruled an error. It wasn't. He got the hit, Meneses did. It was a ball that took a bad hop, went by Arias, and then went into left field. Like, that was your extra base hit in the game. You also had an especially bad game for C.J. Abrams. Now, look, C.J. Abrams has been playing a nice shortstop. He's been doing a good job defensively, so I do want to make that clear. But Abrams is struggling offensively, and he on Wednesday night went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and a throwing error. Now, the throwing error wasn't that big of a deal. The Orioles had a 1-run ninth. Abrams had a 2-out throwing error, made a way too casual throw that ended up being high on a slow grounder off the bat of Ramon Arias. But 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, and Abrams' plate appearance that did not result in a strikeout resulted in a killer double play. Bottom of the second, 1 out. You got runners at the corners, and Abrams grounds into a first pitch inning-ending 4-6-3 double play. And we know the deal, right? The Nats hitting isn't good, and so these innings in which the Nats do not capitalize on opportunities get magnified even more. But, of all the Nats who have struggled so far, I think Abrams is the one, I don't want to say that bothers you the most because it's early in the season, he's young, he's certainly not giving up on the guy or anything like that, but man, you would like to see signs of this guy progressing offensively, and right now we're just not seeing those signs.
Right. If Dom Smith or Joey Meneses is struggling, that's frustrating, of course, but we also know that their success isn't necessarily critical to the Nationals' future. C.J. Abrams' success is, and he could be the best defensive shortstop in baseball, and maybe he will be that. But he's going to have to hit somewhat to survive up here. And, he's projected to be even more than that. The feeling has always been this is a top of the order kind of hitter. We saw some glimpses of it late last season. We really haven't seen that much of it yet this year. And again, it's 18 games. I want to interpret too much. And he is young and inexperienced. And in a perfect world, maybe he's still at AAA and not even in the big leagues. But you just want to see some signs of something from him. And you see him chasing some bad pitches, especially breaking balls out of the zone. But then you also, on that double play, it's a first pitch curveball, and it was over the plate. Like, that's a pitch you could do something with, and he hits it right into a double play. And that, I think, actually might have been the biggest moment of the night offensively for them, because I think that was their best chance, certainly early, to do something with 2 on and 1 out, and it just killed it on 1 pitch. So you hope that the worst of him is going to be in April, and you start to see improvement in May, June, July, August. Maybe by the end of the year, we're looking back and saying, boy, he really improved as a hitter, and he looks like he's going to be a good major league hitter. But the evidence so far has not been all that encouraging. And I do think that's a disappointment because he is an important part of what they're trying to build here.
Absolutely. Your C.J. Abrams slash line so far in this regular season, batting average 207, on base percentage 292, slugging percentage 310. This may be kind of out there, but I don't know. I've had this thought watching C.J. Abrams lately. He is really thin. I mean, he's listed as being 6'2", 191. I know that muscle mass doesn't always equate with hitting for power, and you don't have to be built like a bodybuilder to hit for power, just like you don't have to be a big pitcher to throw with power, like Pedro Martinez is the ultimate example of that. But boy, I mean, watching Abrams, watching a lot of the weak contact that he makes, he strikes me as someone who probably might be better served by putting on some mass and making a concerted effort to try to bulk up a little bit. Now, I know you say, well, he's a shortstop. You don't want to lose your flexibility, your range, your speed, no doubt. But, one of the lessons of baseball over the last 30 years is that you can be a bigger shortstop and still be good defensively. Like Cal Ripken's an example of that. Alex Rodriguez is an example of that. Never mind how A-Rod got his bulk. But I don't know. Do the Nats preach that? Do they like for guys who are thin to, put on some muscle? I mean, is that ever like something that is emphasized, or is that not really something the Nats do?
I don't know if they want to go out of their way there, and I think they want everyone to be themselves and try to be the best version of themselves. So don't necessarily try to adapt your body to be something that it's not. They know that he is a thin guy who is going to have success with speed, and that's his game. But, Trey Turner was that as well. When Trey Turner first came up, I mean, he looked like a teenager out there, and he was razor thin, and we saw how he did develop into a power hitter, one of the better power hitters in baseball, to be honest. So I think the hope would be not so much that CJ needs to go out of his way to try to bulk up, but that as he grows, he will just kind of his body will fill out. And, there may be a little more of that in him. But yeah, I agree. Looking at him right now, doesn't look like a real physically imposing presence at the plate. And I'm looking at some of the metrics right now. His average exit velocity is 25th percentile, barrel percentage, first percentile. So that's a guy who's just not hitting the ball very hard on a regular basis. There's swing mechanics, there are things, pitch selection, all that kind of stuff. You can, even as a little guy like him, to improve all that. But I do think the hope would be, he's 22 years old. He's listed at 6'2", 191. That may be generous. And over time, maybe he fills out and starts to get better sense of that. But I mean, he did hit for some power in the minors. And I think that's what's surprising, that we haven't really seen. Even last year when he went well in September, it was mostly singles, the few doubles. He had the 2 triple game in Colorado, but that's Colorado. So I want to see more of that. And the hope would be that over time, he develops that. I think it's a combination of just his body filling out, but also understanding his swing better, understanding which pitches he can try to hit with some authority and which ones he just needs to put the bat on the ball.
Yeah, he overall has been impressive defensively. He has not been impressive offensively going back to last season. That can change. And what you do with a guy like this is you have him out there basically every game, and you hope, by June, July, August, he's raking and, the development is happening and he's blossoming before our eyes. But if we're evaluating what we have seen so far, the offensive output has not been overwhelming. Hey guys, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation. Everyone loves a smart investment, especially right now, and there is no better place to put your money right now than in your home. If your home is 20 years old or older, Window Nation has the perfect offer for you. Get 0% financing for 5 years. This is unheard of. 0 interest for 5 years. Plus, Window Nation will give you 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy. Protect and increase the value of your home today. Get this special deal. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you. You can save up to 30% on your energy bills. You can increase the value of your home by up to $12,000, and you can pay 0 interest for 5 years and get 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy. And this goes for any style of window from Window Nation. There is no limit. Save thousands of dollars on your new windows and then save thousands of dollars on your energy bills, all while upgrading the look and feel of your home. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Again, 0 interest for 5 years plus 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy. 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
2-1 pitch. Swinging a ground ball to short. Abrams to his right has it. To second for 1. Garcia to first for 2. A double play. And that is huge. Gore limits the damage. 3 walks lead to a run, but a double play prevents further difficulty.
Well, the Nats, of course, got C.J. Abrams in a trade with the San Diego Padres last August 2nd. Also coming back to the Nats in that trade, never mind who the Nats gave up in that trade, was a starting pitcher named MacKenzie Gore. And MacKenzie Gore on Wednesday night, I thought, had an interesting game. So he was coming off the worst of his first 3 starts in this regular season. I thought MacKenzie Gore on Wednesday night overall did have a bounce-back outing. Now, 3 runs in 6 innings is the final line. He certainly had problems in the 3rd and 4th innings. He did issue 4 walks, and walks have emerged as a bit of an issue here with MacKenzie Gore. He's now averaging 6 walks per 9 innings in this regular season. But Gore on Wednesday night only gave up 3 hits, a 2-run homer, yes, but also just 2 singles. He had 7 more strikeouts, MacKenzie Gore did. MacKenzie Gore now, for this season here, is averaging 10.71 strikeouts per 9 innings. He over his 6 innings threw 103 pitches, 66 strikes versus 37 balls. I mentioned the walks. Gore in the top of the 3rd allowed a run on 3 walks and a single, including a 1-out bases loaded walk of Adley Rutschman. And then Gore in the top of the 4th allowed 2 runs on a leadoff 7-pitch walk of Anthony Santander, and then gave up that home run, a 1-out 2-run homer by Adam Frazier to right field for a 3-0 Orioles lead. So, it was far from like a pristine outing from MacKenzie Gore, but I thought he overall was pretty good. And I think overall what we have seen so far this season from him has been pretty good.
Yeah, I think we talked about his last start. Well, if that's the worst that he is, then that's a good sign. I kind of put this in the same category. He was not at his best, at least not consistently at his best. But even when he really lost like all semblance of command there for a stretch, he walked, 4 batters in a span of 7 between the third and the fourth innings. For him to get through that without giving up anything more than that, and for him after the home run, which was just on a hanging curveball, to then retire the last 8 batters he faced, 5 on strikeouts, including he struck out Adley Rutschman twice. Adley Rutschman's not a guy you're going to get that often like that. That to me is very encouraging stuff, and it tells you that his stuff is excellent, that he is able to make some adjustments, that he's able to not let things spiral so far out of control that a start turns ugly on him. So, those are all the signs you want from a frontline starter. Yeah, it's great when everything's clicking on a given night, and that's when you can go out and dominate. But on the nights where you do have some issues, you can still come through that and go 6 innings, 3 runs. That to me is very encouraging. And he didn't go 6 innings, 3 runs by getting a whole lot of help from his defense or by just inducing contact. No, he got that with swings and misses, a lot of them, to end up with 7 strikeouts. So I do come out of this encouraged by him and feel like, okay, we've now seen him at his best and it's really good. And we've seen him not at his best and it's still okay. How many guys have they had the last few years you could say that about?
Well, and how many starting pitchers have the Nats had who have been legitimate strikeout pitchers? We got so spoiled by Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg, and, Patrick Corbin, when he was good, was a strikeout pitcher. Even Gio Gonzalez could strike guys out. And the last few years, you have not had that. Even now, Josiah Gray is not that much of a strikeout pitcher. Corbin has fallen off a cliff, and you're looking at Chad Kuhl and Trevor Williams. MacKenzie Gore is a legitimate strikeout pitcher. He's averaging almost 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. And he's been like a consistent strikeout guy. Like you look at his 4 starts here, okay? His first start, 1 run in 5 1/3 innings, 6 strikeouts. Next start, 2 runs, 6 innings, 6 strikeouts. His most recent outing prior to Wednesday nights, that aforementioned game in which he wasn't at his best. That was a 3-2 loss at the Los Angeles Angels on April 12th. 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings, but 6 strikeouts in that game. He's been very consistent as a strikeout guy. And if nothing else, he has that going for him. And, it's like the pitching version of the home run on offense. If you're a strikeout guy that can cover up so many flaws, that can make up for so much else, and that he has that, is great to see. We just talked about C.J. Abrams and, kind of the underwhelming nature of his performance at the major league level so far. And we emphasize those 2 words, so far. Gore is looking the part. I think this is pretty exciting. I think you can make the case MacKenzie Gore is the number 1 bright spot on the Nats so far this season. It's been really encouraging, I think, to see what he has done, especially considering we did not see him pitch at the major league level last season. We did not see him have a good exhibition season. He seemed to be someone who was, very critical of himself during spring training. And so you wondered, is this guy, is he a head case? Is he one of these guys who's guilty of, the old paralysis by analysis? No, I think overall you can be encouraged by what you're seeing from MacKenzie Gore.
Yeah, I think so far he has lived up to what he's supposed to be, what the reputation was. And yeah, he's a little rough around the edges and there's some things he can clean up. And he knows that and he's the first to admit it. He wasn't totally satisfied with the start, not at all. The walks especially are kind of killing him. And that's really the only trouble he's gotten into is because of walks in both these last 2 starts. Yeah, he gave up a home run, but it is going to happen. Boy, it'd be nice, by the way, if the opposing pitcher ever hung a curveball to a Nationals hitter who could hit it out of the park for a 2-run homer. Does that happen? Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, you can so clearly see the combination of stuff, of ability to work out of jams, ability to make some adjustments. And he has that quality, that attitude that I'm better than you. I'm not going to be intimidated by anybody that you want from a frontline starter. And so, yeah, I think especially because we just didn't know what you had in him last year because he didn't get to pitch, that's got to be number 1 on the most encouraging things we've seen so far. And I'd put Josiah Gray right behind him. The ceiling for Josiah Gray is not as high. But after what we saw last year and the concerns we had, I think what Gray has done has taken a big step up. And so far, 4 starts in, been a significant improvement. So they're 5-13. They got all kinds of offensive issues, no doubt. But I think there's a legitimate reason to be encouraged right now by the two young starters. And as we said, coming into the year, they were number 1 and number 2 in most important developments at the major league level this year.
Without question. And you want a lot of things to go well for the Nats this season, but even if it only ends up being Gore and Gray, that is significant. Now, you want to see Abrams do well. You want to see Keibert Ruiz do well. You want to see Luis Garcia do well. But Gore and Gray, how they do, those are big deals. Maybe those are the two biggest deals. I mean, you can sort of frame this however you like. But, good stuff overall from MacKenzie Gore so far this season. 3 Nats relievers on Wednesday night combined to give up just 1 run, unearned in 3 innings. Anthony Banda, perfect top of the 7th. Thaddeus Ward, he looked good. Perfect top of the 8th, a couple of strikeouts, including one of Adley Rutschman. And Hobie Harris, top of the 9th, and unearned run. So I mentioned that throwing error by Abrams. Did you think that was a result of his rough night at the plate, or did one not have anything to do with the other?
Here's a swing and a ground ball to short, charging in Abrams on the run. He loops a throw high, and Smith has to come off the bag to get it and try to lunge and tag the runner going by, but could not.
So I asked Davey Martinez that question afterwards because I think it's a natural thing to wonder, and he didn't really try to connect the two.
That's just a young mistake to me. You got to play defense.
I could see it happening. You've had a particularly difficult night at the plate like Abrams did, and maybe that's going to get to you in the field. And it was a sloppy throw. Now, again, like you said, since opening day, he had the one other error the night that Corbin started, but otherwise I think he's been very good out there. So I'm not too worried about that. We can see that he is going to be very good at shortstop. I think Luis Garcia also quietly has been outstanding at second base. He made a really nice play in this game as well. It's nice you see a ground ball hit to the infield and you're not immediately cringing or you're not immediately looking up to hang on, let's see, are they actually going to make the play or not? No, the vast majority of the time they're making the plays, and that has been a breath of fresh air.
Hey, are you a law firm partner stuck on an underperforming team while the rest of the competitors are spending big and winning big? Well, unlike MacKenzie Gore, you have options. You don't have to stay on your 60-win team. Nats Chat sponsor Mason Kalfis and his team specialize in placing partners and associates at medium-sized and large law firms in Washington, D.C. and across the country. Mason Kalfis has recruiters in 6 states and has placed lawyers in more than half of the 100 largest law firms in the United States. While you may be reading doom and gloom from the legal press, many practices are red hot. Antitrust, IP litigation, white-collar litigation, finance and direct lending, and healthcare. Because you are not under a CBA or team control for 6 years. In fact, staying at a firm too long is often a recipe for being underpaid. Explore your options today with Mason Kalfis. Call Mason today at 202-486-3535. That number again, 202-486-3535.
Hey, Nats Chat listeners, Tim Shovers here, producer of the podcast, to tell you about Game Time. Do you struggle sometimes to find tickets to your favorite events? Buying tickets to these shouldn't be stressful. That's why you should look into the Game Time app. It's even harder these days with the lack of paper tickets available on the street. If you're looking for tickets to Nats, DC United, or even the Drake concert this summer, Game Time offers the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account at gametime.co and redeem code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Hey Nats fans, Tom Wilson here, just taking in BP right now and really looking forward to the game. See you out there.
Well, we, during the day on Wednesday, got an update of sorts on the sale of the Nationals. Yes, the sale of the Nationals. Remember that thing? That thing is, in theory, still a thing, although remember, Sports Business Journal on March 29th reported that the sale process of the Nats has been paused through at least the 2023 season. It now has been more than a year since we learned that the Lerners had begun exploring selling the Nats. April 11th, 2022 was when we learned that. But as we know, the sale of the Nats has stalled in no small part due to the never-ending Masson dispute. Well, someone who has come up as a contender to buy the Nats is Capitals, Wizards, and Mystics owner Ted Leonsis. The Washington Post last August 23rd reported that Monumental Sports and Entertainment, which is owned by Ted, actually had been granted access to the Nats' financial data. The Washington Post on Wednesday afternoon reported of an actual offer that Ted Leonsis made to buy the Nats. Quote, Ted Leonsis offered more than $2 billion to buy the Washington Nationals from the Lerner family late last year, according to three people with knowledge of the situation. It's not clear whether the Lerners rejected the offer or simply did not respond to it, though one person with direct knowledge of the process says the two parties have remained in touch, end quote. The report also said that Ted expressed an interest in buying Masson. That was interesting. I think the thing that stood out to me the most from this, though, was the actual quantifying of an offer to buy the Nats, because we had not really had that so far. And $2 billion is notable. Forbes in March 2022 valued the Nats as being worth $2 billion. Forbes this past March valued the Nats as being worth $2 billion. So the Nats, their valuation, at least per Forbes, did not go up from 2022 to 2023. That's not the way that's supposed to work, by the way. But $2 billion per Forbes is what the Nats are worth right now. And that is what Ted Leonsis offered. Now, the thinking is until the television situation is resolved, the Lerners aren't going to get the kind of offer that they want to get. But I would just sort of ask this. If the Lerners do want to sell the team, I don't know that you're going to do better than $2 billion. And if that's what the team is valued at by Forbes, not that Forbes is gospel, but, people do look at it seriously, and Ted offered that, I mean, I don't know that you're going to top that. And so, it kind of makes me say, like, what exactly do you want here? If you want to sell the team, that is a legitimate offer if, in fact, it was made by Ted and it was not accepted by the Lerners. Either they did not respond or they rejected that. But what did you think about this report from the Post on Wednesday afternoon?
So I think anybody who's been following this closely, like we have and so many others have over the last year, most of this was stuff that we already either knew or reasonably speculated as how the process was working out. But like you said, I think the interesting thing here is an actual hard report of a dollar amount and seeing that didn't get the job done for whatever reason. To me, the great unanswered question here, and I guess it's kind of two questions, is number one, did the Lerners not go ahead and say yes to that because they truly believe the franchise is worth more than that and they are holding out for more than that? Or did Ted Leonsis not go up in his offer from that number because of the uncertainty of the TV deal and saying, until I know anything more than that, until I have some clarity as to how the TV deal is set up moving forward, I can't increase my offer beyond that? I think that's, kind of the question there. And I don't know that there's anything that's going to change that dynamic here soon. I know there's a court case and in theory there's going to be a ruling, but let's remember that's a ruling about past money and there's still a whole lot of uncertainty as they move forward and how this is going to work. And I haven't gotten the sense from anybody with the Nationals in the know on this that they think anything is happening anytime soon with regards to this, whether that means an increase in the offer or a relenting by the Lerners to take that offer or a resolution in the TV situation. And so it's good to hear these numbers and kind of start to piece it together a little bit more. I don't think anything that we learned in this, though, really changes the dynamic of what the sale process has been or when it may finally get done.
No, the report doesn't really change anything. I think it does illuminate a few things. I mean, the thinking had been that the offers that the Lerners had been getting for the Nats were less than $2 billion, like, in the ones of billions of dollars. So that the number is 2, at least according to this report from the Post. I do think that is significant, but there's no doubt. I mean, the sale of the Nats essentially is the Masson dispute. And until that thing is resolved, or at least until the Nats have more certainty moving forward about their local television revenue, it's really hard to see anyone paying for the Nats what the Lerners want for the Nats. And so I think a lot of this too, comes down to, like, for lack of a better phrase, how desperate are the Lerners to sell the team? Like, if you really do want to sell the team because of a cash flow problem, because of the collapse of the commercial real estate market or whatever, I don't know that you're going to be doing better than a $2 billion offer here, okay? Like, to me, that's a pretty legitimate offer that Ted Leonsis made, if in fact he made it, okay? Now, put aside whether you want Ted owning the Nats, because that's a separate conversation right now. But if the Lerners really want to sell the team, then I have a hard time understanding, like, I mean, what are you going to try to grind out for 2.1, 2.2? Like, I don't know that you're doing better than $2 billion from Ted Leonsis. But of course, there's a flip side to that, which is maybe the Lerners aren't desperate to sell the team. Maybe, they're more than comfortable holding on to the team for a while. We know the Lerners' reputation. They are known for, grinding out deals and maximizing value. That's part of why the family has been so successful financially. So I think that's a big sort of wild card in all of this. Like, how much do the Lerners want to sell the team? And of course, if you're a Nats fan, the lame duck status of ownership has never been good. But, if you have a lame duck ownership that is more than fine sort of grinding out the sale of the team, that's not good. Like, if the team is going to be sold, you want it to be sold. That which is inevitable, you want to be imminent. But I think the Lerners have always had the reputation for being just fine with something not being imminent and taking their time. And so I think those dynamics are key here.
Right. If you know your history, if you've followed the Nationals organization since the Lerners purchased the team, you know by now that they don't really ever feel rushed to do anything. And certainly not anything of this magnitude. That's not their style. And so you use the word, are they desperate to sell? I don't think they are desperate to sell. I think a year ago they had come to the conclusion that it was time to explore that possibility. And remember, even though we've kind of always felt like since then that this wasn't just let's see, maybe we'll sell, maybe we won't. Like, no, the idea was to sell the team. But I also don't think it was okay, we have to sell this team within the next year. And so whatever the best offer we get at the end of that, we're taking it. No, that's not the case. They have decided that the franchise is worth X, whatever that number is. And until they get that, they are comfortable waiting it out. And you can tie this into, so many other things over the years that they've done. Think about the naming rights of the stadium. There have been countless opportunities where they could have sold the rights to Nationals Park. They never have gotten the kind of offer from the company that they wanted. And so they have been perfectly fine sitting for all these years and giving up on revenue that they would have made. They could have sold a jersey patch by now. We've seen some teams do that. They have not done that, presumably because it hasn't been in their mind worth it based on whatever kind of offers they get. So this is their style. And I don't think that's just suddenly going to change. I think they are going to continue to approach this as, yeah, we may want out ultimately, but not at any price. It's got to be the right deal, the right people and all that. And that's, even before you take the TV thing into consideration, which obviously is a huge consideration for it. So I don't know enough to know what this franchise truly is worth, but Mark Lerner and his family have decided whatever they believe it's worth. And until they get that, I don't think it changes.
I think the other thing, too, that was notable from that post report was the idea of someone buying Masson, and that Ted had explored or flirted with, the notion of buying Masson. Now, how realistic that is, hard to say. But, when you talk about, like, how does the Masson dispute end? It could end with the Orioles being sold. It could also end, in theory, with the Nats buying their media rights from the Orioles. Now, would the O's ever be willing to do that? I mean, and what would the price for that be, right? Especially when the Orioles have the Nats media rights in perpetuity. I don't know. Everything has a price, but what that price would be, hard to say. But like, in theory, that would be a way out of this thing. But, how realistic that is, I'll let you decide. All right, we're going to say goodbye for now, but we're not ending the show. So hold on for a moment here. We do want to invite you to let us know what you think. You can tweet us at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, we have a new website, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can listen to previous episodes of the show. You can also get yourself a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt by going to that site. Again, natschatpodcast.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. We thank Tim Newmark for the Nats Chat Podcast music. Check out his site, timnewmark.com. So for Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We're going to thank you for now for listening to this installment of the Nats Chat Podcast. And we're going to turn things over now to the mastermind of the Nats Chat Podcast, Tim Shovers. He spent his Wednesday afternoon watching the Fred Nats, and he had this conversation with the play-by-play voice of the Fred Nats, Eric Bach.
2-2 offering. Hassell swings and hits a liner to center field, sinking fast. Acevedo comes on and he dives and misses it, and it gets past him. Hassell on his way to second, not stopping there. Here he comes to third. He's there standing up.
Hello and welcome to Virginia Credit Union Stadium, home of the Fred Nats in Fredericksburg, Virginia, Low A affiliate. I'm joined by Eric Bach, Broadcast and Media Relations Manager. Eric, thanks for joining us here on the Nats Chat Podcast on this beautiful day in this absolutely gorgeous stadium. Before we get to the high-profile players, tell our listeners what led you to this role here today.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Tim. Great to have you out at the yard today. So last year I was the Broadcasting and Media Relations Assistant for the Fred Nats. That was my first year in minor league baseball. Worked the season with Joey Zanaboni, who in the winter months moved on to the new MLS expansion team in St. Louis, which is his hometown. So a great opportunity for Joey. So the number one position came open, and Fred Nats offered it to me, and I gladly accepted. And I'm so glad to be here with this great organization and have a team, as you said, full of talented prospects. Off to a little bit of a slow start this year, but just 10 games in, plenty of time to turn it around.
Well, yeah, we're going to get to those prospects here. We're going to do a rapid fire here with the 4 high-profile prospects that are on the Fred Nats, and feel free to add in anyone else you want to shine a spotlight on. Elijah Green, last year's first-round pick for the Nationals. Brady House, he was the first-round pick for the Nats back in 2021. Jarlin Susana, the pitcher who came over in the Juan Soto deal from the San Diego Padres organization, and Robert Hassell III. So give our listeners what they should know about these key cogs to the Nats' future.
Well, I mean, Elijah Green, everyone knows that he's the toolsiest guy out here. I mean, he's got as much pure athleticism as anyone I've maybe ever covered in my baseball career so far. I mean, he's got power off the charts. He can run as fast as anyone out here. He's as strong as anyone out here. You know, his strikeout rate has been a little bit too high in the beginning of his career, but he's 19 years old facing professional pitchers for the first time. I mean, he went from high school pitchers to professional pitchers. That's a big jump. I mean, he's had some really good moments already, and the numbers are good, not great so far for him, but I think he's going to figure it out just fine. Brady House last year played in 45 games in his age 18 season. Back injury ended his 2022 campaign. Back here healthy here in 2023, kind of on the play 2, sit 1 plan for now as they try to ease him back into it, but he's really matured at the plate, good plate discipline, power to all fields, position change from shortstop to third base, which I think has really helped his overall game. And Jarlin Susana, who we saw last year, I mean, everyone knows he's got the huge arm, 100-plus mile-per-hour fastball. What they're really working with him now is to become a pitcher, not just a thrower. That's one thing that Justin Lord, the pitching coach here, is really emphasizing with him, and he's really happy with his progress about how to prepare for a start. I mean, you know, when you throw 103 at 18 years old, generally you can just kind of get up there and throw. And Jarlin is figuring out that to become a successful professional pitcher, it's a really long process to prepare and get himself ready. So he's really, really working on that. And Robert Hassell III is here on rehab. He's supposed to be in Double-A Harrisburg, but had a wrist injury in fall instructs last year after the season that kind of labored him throughout spring training. So he stayed down at West Palm at extended spring training until the middle of last week, where he joined the Fred Nats in Fayetteville for a rehab assignment. And he's easing back into it. He's had a lot of bad luck, frankly, since he's been here in Fredericksburg. Had a lot of hard hit balls just right at people, but that's the game. And I'm sure that once he gets the full health go-ahead, that he'll be back to Harrisburg and back doing things that we know he can do.
We're here in this stadium, as I mentioned, that is in its 3rd season, should have been its 4th season. But as we wrap up here, tell our listeners, many of which are in Virginia, who want to come and check out the Fred Nats, where they should go for tickets, parking, etc., all that good info.
Yeah, it's just frednats.com/tickets. You can buy, individual game tickets. You can buy mini season plans where you pick 10 games or something. That's what I would recommend doing, frankly. Then you can pick your dates, come on the good promo nights. We have theme nights every Saturday night, fireworks every Friday night, and we have a giveaway for the first 1,000 fans every Sunday afternoon when the Fred Nats are at home. So, I mean, this is definitely the best ballpark in the Carolina League, one of the best minor league ballparks there is in existence right now. If you're a Washington Nationals fan that's in the DMV area, it is definitely worth a trip. to come down here to Virginia Credit Union Stadium, and we love to have you. And frednets.com/tickets is the place to go.
All right, Eric, thanks so much. Have a great call today.
Thank you, Tim.
This is your before and after story. Prepare for an incredible career in nursing. At Southeastern College, experience expert hands-on training. Learn real-world skills in our professional lab and simulated settings. And train for opportunities as a practical nurse, registered nurse, or career advancement with our RN to BSN program. At Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.